All right. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I see our student participation are are coming in. So welcome, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with like a little intro. Um, yeah, welcome to the first webinar for the Research and Involvement series. That's part of STEP. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. And if this is your first time at STEP, welcome. And then if this isn't not your first time and you're coming back, welcome back. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So again, this is the Research and Involvement series, which is part of STEP, which you may have gone to like our transfer talks in the past. And if you're not registered for STEP, please do so and let us know if you're joining like for future events, whether in person, so that we can account for meals and small groups and stuff. So this is the QR code here, and then in just a bit that STEP registration will come in the chat. But yeah, please register for STEP so that you can also get the emails with like recaps, recordings, and reminders to join webinars. Okay, so as part of STEP, we have webinars and presentations happening every week. And next week, on July 16th, we have the Office for Students with Disabilities that will be coming and giving a presentation on information. Next Thursday is July 17th. We have a First Generation Transfers Connect. So this won't be an informational webinar. There's no like formal presentation really, but if you are a first generation student, any student is welcome. But if you would like to meet other first generation transfer students on Zoom, I think this is a great opportunity. So this is more of like a social like meeting. And then next Friday we have the resume workshop. And then this is our little lineup for the Research and Involvement series that will be hosted by me. So you will see me every Friday until August 8th. So all of these webinars happen on Fridays from 12 to 1 p.m. We will utilize the same Zoom meeting ID for each of these Friday webinars. And we have a great lineup. So today is July 11th. So this is the first webinar in this series, which is Explore Research Opportunities at UCSD, which we will get into soon. So checking that one off. And then next week, we have a resume workshop. On July 25th, we have a webinar on how to connect with UCSD professors. August 1st, I'm really excited for this one, but we have a student research panel. So transfer alumni and transfer continuing students will be on a panel, and you get to hear about their research experiences at UCSD as a transfer student. And then we'll finish off the series on August 8th about experiential learning or how to get involved with internships, UCDC, study abroad, and more programs as well. So and so my name is Elizabeth Vasquez. I didn't formally introduce myself. I'm doing it now. My pronouns are she, her, ea. I'm the Research and Involvement Coordinator at the Triton Transfer Hub. So a little bit about my role is I am a full-time professional staff member at the Triton Transfer Hub. So if we do meet one-on-one, my office is located at the Triton Transfer Hub. I'm also liaison to the Undergraduate Research Hub. So in just later in this presentation, you will hear from a representative from the Undergraduate Research Hub, and I'll talk a little bit more about their office. And I'm also a resource for you. So I primarily work with transfer students for transfer students. My role is about supporting transfer students that are interested in getting into research, that want to learn about research or how to get involved on campus. It doesn't even have to be about research and other ways to get involved. And so that's the primary goal of my role. And then in fall quarter, I will be taking appointments one-on-one with new transfer students like you. So I'm available for appointments, for 30-minute appointments, either virtually on Zoom or in person at the Triton Transfer Hub throughout the academic year. actually throughout the whole year. But for new transfer students like all of you, um, I will start taking appointments at the start of fall quarter. And you will see updates about that through like the newsletter, step newsletter, through social media. And you can also just come into the hub too and ask about like how to make an appointment as well in once you come in fall quarter. Okay, so we have a Mentimeter. So in just a bit, I'm going to switch my screens and I have an activity for you all. And Tessa just put the participation link in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. Oh, switch my screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen looking good?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So thanks. Yeah, some of you are ahead of it. You can submit more than once, but I kind of want to do a temperature check on how do you feel about getting involved in research at UCSD? And there's also QR code, and the code is 64740672 at menti.com. So yeah, and we can see this in real time. All right. So I'm seeing excited is the big one. Um, intimidated, nervous, competitive. Okay. Helpful, overwhelmed is starting to get big, determined, cool. Okay. Nice. Yeah, keep putting in your answers if you think of more stuff too. But I see determined, excited, overwhelmed are probably our top three emotions. Okay, I also see running out of time, scared, lost, eager. So it's kind of like a mix of two. So I feel like this is helpful for us to see as staff to see like where is everybody's like where are you at in terms of like how you feel at research. But I think this might also be helpful for you all as students to see that if you do feel a little bit scared or nervous or a little lost on it, like you're not alone. Like this shows that you're not alone on having those thoughts as transfer students. It might feel that way. But it's good that you're here at the webinar today, so you're determined, and we will talk about research and all the ways that you can kind of get into research. So it's good that you're here and that hopefully by the end of the workshop, you feel a little less overwhelmed, little less intimidated and more ready and more excited once you get a basis of like what the opportunities look like. So yeah, okay. Thank you so much for participating. This is really helpful for us. And I'm gonna just do a little switch back to the presentation. So thank you all for participating. Okay, so I'll start off with some frequently asked questions that transfer students typically have. Um, and one of the questions that I tend to get and maybe Tom can also vouch for that, maybe gets is, do I have to do research at UCSD? And the answer is maybe, depending on what the situation is. So here are some reasons why you might have to. So the first one is high impact practice requirements. So you may be in a college that may require you to complete a set of 199 independent study credits. And this could probably be done by completing hours with a professor. There's something called the Faculty Mentor Program that Tom's going to talk about in just later on. And some classes can also fulfill this requirement. So depending on your college, too. If you happen to be in Sixth College, I know that there also require some type of requirement for high impact too. So you might have to do so because of your college. Major requirement. Some majors may require you to do some type of research. For example, psychology. This can also be done with hours with a professor, faculty mentor program, and some classes. And then maybe by personal preference, you maybe have like a strong interest in a certain topic, or maybe at your previous institution, you've like thought about doing research, or maybe you did already, and now you're at UCSD and you want to continue it or explore it more. Yeah, if it comes to personal preference or curiosity, that could also be a way, like a motivation for you to want to have to get into research. You're like, I want to get into research because, maybe you want to do um, um, a graduate degree or your PhD in a certain area, and you're like, I'm set on doing that, and that's my personal preference. So it could be, right? Um, okay. And so some other good questions is, can I get paid to do research? Ways to get paid for your research at UCSD. And we'll kind of go more into them in just a bit too, especially on the research programs. But um, research programs offered there you can get paid and get offered through offices, departments, and colleges at UCSD. There are also scholarships related to research, and the Undergraduate Research Hub also has some research scholarships. Faculty funding. So faculty is another word for professors. And so or faculty and professors are kind of used interchangeably at UCSD. So if you do hear the word faculty, you can think professors. But professors at UCSD oftentimes have funding that they might be able to either pay students in a stipend, or some type of compensation for students that are doing research under them. So again, yeah, if a faculty has a current project or a research lab or something like that, you may be able to get compensated if they have funding. Corporate could also be a way to go. There are local businesses and research institutions around UCSD that you may also be able to find a research assistant position through one of those, and you can also possibly get paid. So, a couple of ways. So you can also get academic credit for doing research, and oftentimes the this could be the option too. So if you do get a research position for an academic year, and let's say you do need some academic credit units, you could do a research program for one quarter, get academic credit for another quarter, and then do another research program for your third quarter and get compensated differently for each quarter. And so down here, I have an example. For example, per fall quarter, you may be able to do a research program. For winter, you might have to do like academic credit, and then for spring, you might do like the trials program. So these are um, yes. And I forgot to mention this. I'm sorry I forgot to mention this, but we do have a Q&A feature. If you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We have allotted some time at the end to answer questions too. So if you also have your own questions, feel free to utilize that. Okay, so when do I have to start? Um, and there's really no rules, or you don't have to start. You can really just start whenever you'd like to. As transfer students, you may have some limited time. And so in my experience, transfer students are a little eager to get started pretty quickly. So it's good that we're in summer and you're learning all the ways to get involved in research. But there are some recommendations of the time of year to when you can pursue research or look for different research opportunities. So for fall quarter, I think that's a good time to start networking, outreaching to faculty, and looking at programs of interest. And on July 25th, I will have a webinar on outreaching and connecting to professors at UCSD. So like how to cold email, what to put in that email, and stuff. Like, if you go to office hours, like what do you say to a professor? Things that might seem a little intimidating. So we're going to break that down in a future webinar. Um, and then programs, we'll hear about programs in just a bit. The Undergraduate Research Hub does have some programs, and so it's good to know when the timeline for those are. And I will say fall quarter is a good time because a lot of research programs tend to be open during this time. Winter quarter, and I know we're thinking way ahead, right? But winter quarter is a good time to start thinking about spring and summer programs. Oftentimes, spring rolls around and, like spring quarter, and it's like May, and students meet with me and they ask, like, oh, I want to do a research program over the summer. And then it's kind of hard to find some positions that are still open just because those positions typically open in winter quarter. So again, it's good for you to know that fall quarter is good, the start of winter if you're thinking about spring or summer, and then doing research during the summer is probably the best time if you want to do a full-time load of research. So and we'll hear about that in just a bit. But you'll be able to do like 30 hours per week in research over the summer. Um, more programs have that availability during the summer. So just some things for you to start thinking about and stuff. And again, don't mean to put too much of the timeline on you all, but just so that you're aware of how that goes. Okay, where do I find research opportunities? I think I peeked at the Q&A, and you're in the right place. So we're going to talk about where to find these research opportunities. So the thing about research, let me go back for a second. So the thing about research at UCSD is that because UCSD is so big and there's so many departments, there's so many offices, so many professors, so many websites that you won't find all of them in one place. So that's kind of the hard part, right? Where you're like, there's not one website where you'll find all the research opportunities available on campus. But I think what might be helpful for you is to kind of break down the areas in which you might be able to find research opportunities that are of interest to you. And so this is what that is. And I will take a sip of water. But yeah, take a look at how I've categorized each. So research at UCSD, a couple of places to look. So we have the Real Portal. So the Real Portal is an online website that is available for UCSD students, and they have postings of opportunities on there. And I will go over that in just a bit. Networking and contacting. So by networking with professors, whether it's through office hours, cold emailing, that is also a great way to get involved in research. Honors programs. So your major department may have an honors program or um, they may offer an honors program for your major. And so that's also another way to get involved with research. And the Undergraduate Research Hub, which we will end with at the end of the presentation. But they're an office on campus that is all about research. And I will go through each of them. So the Real Portal, the Research Experience and Applied Learning Portal, it's for research and experiential learning opportunities. So you log in with your student SSO. So let me back up actually. You do need to have activated your UCSD student email to be able to access the Real Portal. Once you go on real.ucsd.edu, that's when you would have to log in with your SSO. And you probably will hear this term SSO a lot throughout your time at UCSD. And this stands for your student sign-on. So a lot of UCSD portals and websites and whatnot, you would need your student email, which is your Active Directory, and then your password. So Real Portal is one of those websites where you do need to have your email activated, and that is part of like your login for a lot of websites. So once you do log in, what you will find are opportunities for research, internship, international opportunities, service learning, leadership. It will have both paid and unpaid opportunities, volunteer work, right? On campus and off campus opportunities as well. Um, it's kind of like Handshake, and if you haven't heard of Handshake, Handshake is another portal for UCSD students to look for jobs, but also research opportunities as well. Um, so Handshake and the Real Portal are two places to look um, for research opportunities. And on Wednesday, the Career Center did a webinar and talked about Handshake. So if you did want to look back at those, we have that recording on the STEP website. And then this is what the real portal looks like. So once you do successfully log in, this is what it will look like. It'll have the real portal logo at the top. And then on the left-hand side, you have some filters. So you can filter it by on-campus, off-campus, by academic standing. You can also select a department as well. Compensation, so paid, volunteer, academic credit, and those things like that.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
I am noticing some things coming up in the chat and I want to make sure folks aren't getting concerned. The Real
Okay.
Portal is currently getting a system upgrade. So it
Mm,
is on pause at the moment. So the link that you're
mm,
doing is correct and folks are saying the website doesn't work. There's a big header on that main
oh,
page mentioning that it is
mm.
down from now until the start of fall quarter because they're going to actually bring in an extra site that used to be in another place. So it will be all in one location for you. But at the moment, it is not working, and that's not your account that's the issue. That's that the site is on pause from now until September. So you have done nothing wrong, and it's not your email account.
That's right. Yes, thank you for the reminder. Sorry about that. Yeah. Real Portal is, yeah, it's going to be combined with a couple of other places. And so, yes, um, yeah, you will be able to log in and see the Real Portal soon. Okay. Thank you so much, Tessa. Um, so that means that the screenshot that I have of the Real Portal, it might change. It might not look like this, but it will have the same idea where you will see postings on there. Okay, I'm going to move on to that second area, which was networking and contacting. So getting connected to research through networking and emailing is another way that you can network with professors. So one, reaching out to professors with whom you have taken or are taking courses via email, office hours, or classes. So this is really much so once you start taking courses in fall quarter, you can reach out to the professors that you are taking courses with in fall quarter. But if you haven't taken a course with a certain professor and you're like, I really like the work that they do, and I wonder if they could be my faculty mentor, or I wonder if I can ask them about their research or their career trajectory, you can definitely reach out to them. And that's called cold emailing or called cold calling. And I will have another webinar, think, yes, on July 25th, where we will break down that information into more detail. But you can reach out to professors. I think for now, you know that you can reach out to professors via email. You can go to their office hours, or even talk to them after class too. Yeah. And searching the course catalog and departmental websites for faculty members who teach courses that that you hope to soon take. So again, in the webinar about contacting professors, we'll break down on how to look through departmental websites and look for faculty members, because they do have lab websites that you can look for more information. So, and then you can cold email that way. So again, all these details on the step-by-step, we will go over later. And then lastly, if professors seem a little bit intimidating, you can also reach out to TAs, graduate students, and professors. They are all resources for you as well. Okay, honors program. So I mentioned earlier that your major may offer honors programs or may require a research thesis to graduate. I'll use the example for psychology. If you go to psychology.ucsd.edu, they do have a psych honors program, and they typically provide info sessions in the fall quarter. So that's just one example. If you do look for your major department website, um, and usually it kind of follows this URL. But if you also Google like your major department and UCSD, it'll take you to their website, and their website will also like have more info if there's like an honors program or something like that that you can engage in research with. And then Six College has an experiential learning requirement. So again, your college may also set you up for research as well that way too. And it's good to also explore your college website. And usually it's like you can Google like Six College, UCSD, and it'll bring you to the website as well. Okay, so the Undergraduate Research Hub. They are located at Student Center B, which you may not know where it is soon, so I added a picture here of their entrance. And so some services that are offered by the Undergraduate Research Hub are research programs, conferences, research advice. They also have staff support, travel funding for students who have completed a research program, and there are yearly, quarterly, and summer research programs, which I know that there's some interest in. And before I go into our survey and then pass it over to Dr. Brown, I also wanted to mention that the Undergraduate Research Hub has an Airtable of UCSD programs. This QR code should lead you there. But this is also another way to see what kind of research programs are available at UCSD as well. Okay, and then before I hand it off, I also wanted to mention that we have a survey for the STEP program. So we will be, if you're first, you have to be a registered STEP registrant to do the survey. And it takes 2 minutes. Let us know how we're doing, things you like, things you don't like, what we can we change, what can we improve, and all that stuff. And then we have a raffle, so you can be entered to win a pair of AirPods or a UCSD sweatshirt or a UCSD hat. So yeah, and then Tessa will also put that in the chat in just a bit. Okay, and that's my info, but yeah, you can definitely reach out through training transfers. And with that, I will stop sharing and I will hand it over to Dr. Tom Brown from the Undergraduate Research Hub.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hi, everyone. Like Elizabeth said, I'm Tom Brown, and I'm with the Undergraduate Research Hub, and I'm the coordinator of the McNair Scholars Program, which is one of several programs that is housed within our department, URH. So today I'm going to tell you about the various programs in our department and some of the other things that we do. I'm going to start sharing my screen in just a moment. So get that. Here we go. And I'll start the slideshow. There we go. Yeah, so like I said, I'm with URH. This is a picture of most of the people who are in the department now. Doesn't include me. I was somehow hiding and avoided the photo that day. But most of the people in this picture are still with URH. And also in the picture is our Assistant Vice Chancellor, Dr. Maruth Figueroa, who's in the middle of the front row there. So yeah, I want to talk with you about the Research Hub, and very briefly, I'll talk about what research is, because I want to give you a sense for the scope of what is included when we talk about research. All right, so I want you to think about and imagine a researcher at a top tier university like UC San Diego. Think about a researcher, and I'm going to ask you to think about what that looks like to you. And if you're thinking about somebody who's wearing a lab coat and is working in a laboratory, maybe has some test tubes or some other chemistry lab equipment, then you're probably not alone in thinking about a researcher being that kind of a person. I want to tell you, though, that there is a really wide range of what counts as research and what counts as a really legitimate and useful and very important research. It's not just people working in laboratories. It's not just people who are testing products and things like that. It is very widely construed. It's really looking into a specific problem or a topic and using particular methods to try to answer a research question. And it's building upon existing information. It's discovering new ideas and information, and it's really wide ranging. Now, on this next slide, there's a list of some of the topics, and there are thousands of topics that our students have worked with over the years. But here's a list of just some of the topics, and you'll see that it's a pretty wide range of things. Just looking over this, I won't read them off, but you can look at these and you can see that these are in a wide range of research topics. Right now in the McNair program, we have 29 students who are currently doing their summer research. And I was just looking at the list of their departments and in the that they're working with, the faculty members that they're working with. So each of the students in our program and everybody who's in the summer research program has what we call a faculty mentor. And those faculty mentors are they're in departments here at the university, and they are working on their own research. They're also serving as mentors to our students. They're guiding our students through research projects this summer. And I looked at the topics, the departments that those faculty mentors in the McNair program are working in right now. And it's such a wide range. Neuroscience, there's African American studies, there's political science, there's chemistry, computer science and engineering, bioengineering, history, chemistry. So they're just all over the place. And this is representative of the fact that there's research being done in all of these different fields. All right, so there are really good reasons to do research. You may already be thinking that when you get here in the fall, you want to start doing research right away, or that you might want to do research at some point while you're at UCSD. Well, there are some really good reasons to do it. And if you're not considering research right now, I encourage you to consider how doing research at UCSD could be valuable for you. One of the main reasons to do research is at the core of why we do research, which is to create and share knowledge. So that's what researchers are doing. In whatever field they're working in, they're creating knowledge. They're addressing a research question. They're looking at problems, and they're coming up with answers to those questions and those problems. Another reason that you should do research, and that is really useful for doing research, is that you build a relationship with a faculty mentor at the university. And you may already be aware of this, but UC San Diego is a world-class research institution. And in the many departments that exist at UC San Diego, in every department, there are people doing cutting-edge research in that department. So, and in the research programs at UC San Diego, and through finding a faculty mentor to do research with, you will build a relationship with that faculty mentor. And if you're going to go to graduate school, or if you're looking for a job after you graduate from UC San Diego, that faculty mentor is going to be one of the people who will write you a letter of recommendation, who will write you a reference. But more than that, this is a person who's going to guide you in your research and is going to be really important in your learning process through the whole thing. Another reason to do research is that you can get paid to do research, as Elizabeth mentioned. You can also receive academic credit for your research. So, and many of the students in the program that I work with, which is the McNair program, are planning to go to graduate school. And maybe you, as an incoming transfer student, have already thought about that possibility. Maybe after you graduate from UCSD, you're going to go to graduate school. Well, in the McNair program, most of the students in the program are planning to apply to graduate school within a year or two after they graduate from UCSD. And doing research as an undergraduate is one of the best ways to prepare for graduate school and also to position yourself to get into the graduate program that you want to get into. And all right, so also in when you do research, the very act of doing research and sharing that research with others, whether it's at a conference where you're talking about your research or sharing your research in an academic journal, you are gaining critical thinking skills, and you are also gaining the ability to communicate both in written language and also as a speaker and even as a public speaker. A couple other things that the researchers at UCSD get to do is you have the opportunity to present your research at conferences at UC San Diego and also at conferences around the country and sometimes in other countries. And it also, of course, gives you practice at public speaking. The students in our summer program are all going to be presenting their research at the Summer Research Conference in about a month. And it also, doing research gives you access to a professional network in your field of study. All right, so then the question of who should do research. We like to think at URH that everyone should do research and that everyone will benefit from doing research, whether you're going to go to graduate school or whether you're going to go to medical school or whether you're going to enter the professional world right after you graduate from UC San Diego. The research that you're doing research as an undergraduate will benefit you after you graduate. And as I alluded to, there are research opportunities in all fields, and there are also research opportunities for students at every level, whether from freshman to senior, and all citizenship statuses at the university. So as I'll discuss when I look at the different programs, you can participate for a single quarter if you want to in your research. You can also participate for multiple quarters, and you can also participate in the summer research program in various programs. All right, so I'm gonna very briefly cover this, and that is, you might be wondering, well, if I'm going to do research, what would I do research on? And one of the places to start is what excites you the most, and you might not really discover that until you start here at UC San Diego. You might take a class and one of your professors talks about some research they've done or some research that somebody else did, and you just think this is a really exciting topic. So that's one place to start. But there are so many ways to come up with research topics. And I want to mention that, and I think that Elizabeth provided a link to our website, but our website is at ugresearch.ucsd.edu. And if that's not already in the chat, then that could go into the chat. There are many resources at that website. So not only does it list all of the programs that we have at URH, it also has some resources. There's a tab where you can, it's the students tab, and there's a drop-down menu there that will take you to topics like this. How do you pick a research topic? And how do you find a faculty mentor? So there's a lot of really useful information in there, including a video on finding a faculty mentor. So in the fall quarter or whenever you're here, if you want to start doing research in the winter quarter or you want to look for an opportunity next summer, you can go to our website and there's a video on finding a faculty mentor. Another thing you can do is to reach out to one of us at URH. And I showed you that picture of the people in our department. Everybody in our department is very happy to talk with you about not only the programs that exist within URH, but things like how do you get involved with research? How do you find a faculty mentor to work with? How do you start doing your research? How do you pick a topic? And other really useful things like how to write a research proposal. So I want you to know that you can call upon people in URH And also at our website, if you go in the About, I think it's the About Us tab, there's a drop-down menu, and you can see a list of all the people who work in our department. And most of us have a link listed where we have our little blurb and our picture of us. You can click on a link and you can say, I want to make an appointment with Dr. Brown or with Dr. Kung, and you can then schedule an appointment with one of us. So, and once you're here on campus, you'll eventually find out about where our building is, which is in Student Center B. And I encourage you in your first quarter, especially when you get here, even before the quarter starts, and you're here on campus, find us, find the Undergraduate Research Hub, and just stop in and say hello, and say, if you want to. If you're interested in one of the programs, let us know that, and we can talk with you about that. Okay, so as I mentioned, this topic is also on our website, How Do I Find a Mentor? And I won't discuss this in much detail, except to say that we are all resources for helping you find a mentor, and that in our programs, some of the programs, like the McNair program, help you find a mentor after you're in the program. And some of the other programs, it's up to you to find a mentor before you apply. And I'll talk with you a little bit more about that as I look at the different programs here. Okay, so, all right. So now here's a list of the programs that we have currently. I will talk about most of these in a little bit more detail, but this is a list of our programs, and you can see it's divided into academic year programs and summer programs. And you can see that a few of the programs are listed on both sides, and such as the McNair Scholars Program, which exists it's an academic year program. It'll start in fall quarter, and then it also has a summer program. Some of the programs, like the UC Scholars Program, are only in the summer. And as Elizabeth mentioned, there is a stipend attached to some of the programs. You see the ones with an asterisk here include a research stipend or scholarship or some kind of hourly pay. All of the summer programs are paid programs, and a few of the academic programs also include some form of payment. So you can get paid to do research. And the other programs, if they don't provide a stipend, they will provide the opportunity to get academic credit for your research. All right, so going through the individual programs. So I'm happy to say this says details pending, and the reason for that is that for a while we were without funding for this program. It's the California Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, also known as CAMP, because it's a lot easier to say. So that's really basically the California Alliance for Minority Participation in STEM fields. And we just found out within the past week that we will again have funding for CAMP in the coming academic year. So that's a great thing. What's listed here are the details from last year when we had CAMP, the last time we had CAMP, and we had funding for it. And when we did have CAMP at that point, it was both an academic year program and it was a summer program, and you could do either one or both. CAMP is something where it's funded by the National Science Foundation, a federal agency, and it is a program that is for students in the STEM field. So if your major is in the sciences, mathematics, engineering, or technology fields, then you would, and if you are an underrepresented ethnic minority, then you would qualify for CAMP. If we do have a fall quarter, I don't know yet if we're having a fall quarter program. My guess is that we won't, because it's kind of soon to start to set it up, but it is possible. If we do, that will be announced on our webpage, and it will also be announced in our newsletter, which I want to mention that our newsletter is something you can sign up for now. At the very end of my slide presentation, there's going to be our URL picture where you can actually go to the website and sign up for our newsletter. You can also just go to our website at ugresearch.ucsd.edu, and under the About Us tab, it will have a drop down. One of the drop down things is to sign up for the newsletter. So our newsletter will announce when there are programs, applications opening. And so it's possible that camp will have openings in the fall quarter. I don't yet know. It's much more likely that we'll have a summer program next year. So that's something that you can look into. And if we do have a summer program for camp, the applications will probably open up in around January or February. So I highly encourage you to sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get notifications of things like that. All right, the next program is the Faculty Mentor Program, and this is actually, I think, the oldest program that we have in URH. The Faculty Mentor Program is a 2-quarter sequence that is during the academic year. It's in the winter and spring quarters. It's for students who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors, so anybody who's coming in as a transfer student in fall quarter would be eligible, and it's for students in any major and any citizenship status. And in your participation in the Faculty Mentor Program, you would get credit. We call it independent studies credit. It's also referred to as a 199 because that's the upper division course number for independent studies. And you would get 4 units of research credit per quarter. The Faculty Mentor Program is one, as the name implies, where you work with a faculty mentor. And basically with FMP, once you sign up for it, then the first thing you'll start doing is looking for a faculty mentor. And like I said, the staff at URH will gladly help guide you in that process. We also have a lot of information on our website about how to find a faculty mentor. Let's see. I also want to mention that, so the application for that will open in the fall quarter. This is actually the date from last year, so that may not be the exact date, but it'll open in late October, and and it'll close in early winter quarter next year. And in the inset here, the FMP Emergency Medicine Research Program, or MRAP, that is something that if you're thinking about going into health professions, it's a really good program to get into. It gives you a taste of what it's like to work in the Department of Emergency Medicine. And so that application period we anticipate will open in September. And that is, I think, also a winter and spring quarter program, although it doesn't say here, but I'm pretty sure that is, it's aligned with the FMP general program. So the next program I want to talk about is the program that I run, which is the McNair Scholars Program. And that was originally kind of designed to overlap with the Faculty Mentor Program. So it has a lot of the same things that FMP has. But there are some really big differences. So the McNair program is funded by the U.S. Department of Education. And we are currently in the 4th year of a 5-year grant program. So what that means is that we are funded through next year. And despite what's going on at the federal level, and there's been some uncertainty about next year's funding, and there's still a little bit of uncertainty, but we are still pretty confident that we will have a program next year, and that we will also be applying for another 5-year grant next year. So, but as students transferring in this fall, I strongly encourage you to apply for the McNair program if you're eligible, and I'll talk about those eligibility requirements in a moment. So the McNair program, like FMP, has a winter and spring component where you work with a faculty mentor for 2 quarters. You would write a research proposal in the winter quarter, and you would work on your research paper in the spring quarter. You also would present your research at a conference in spring quarter. And For both quarters, you get the 199 credit. You get 4 units of special studies credit with your faculty mentor. And then in the summer, you would participate in the McNair Summer Research Program, which involves getting a $2,800 stipend, plus you either get on-campus housing, which is free, or you can also choose to get what we call a housing allowance, which helps you to pay for off-campus housing. Let's see, the eligibility criteria are changing a little bit in response to some of the things that are happening at the federal level. And right now, what we're looking at is we're probably going to be having the criteria be, you have to be first generation college, you have a first generation college student from a low income household. Now, it used to be that up until very recently, we also could have up to 1/3 of the students be eligible based on being members of an underrepresented ethnic minority. Now, because the current administration is trying to phase out any DEI programs, we are changing the language so that we can preserve our funding. And we are going to be limiting that to first generation college students from low income households. If you have questions about the details of those criteria, well, first generation is relatively easy to describe, and that means that you're eligible on first generation basis if neither of your parents, or if you were raised by a guardian, neither of the parents you lived with at the time you turned 18 have a bachelor's degree or higher. So if they've got an associate's degree, or if they don't have a college degree, or if they have a high school diploma or less education than that, then you would be considered a first generation college student. The other part of that is being eligible based on a low income household criteria. And if you have questions about that, can contact me, but it's also something you can find out about online if you just look up McNair income eligibility criteria. But if you have questions about that, please, I can talk about it more in the Q&A, but also you can email me. I'm at tkbrown@ucsd.edu, or find me on our website. And so, yeah, you can ask me more about that at a later time too. All right, so you do need to be a junior or a senior, and all of you, of course, will be juniors coming in the fall, so you're eligible based on that criterion as well. The applications will open up in September, and they're always due in late October. What we've been starting to do in order to extend the application period and to get it to allow as many people to apply as possible is that even after the application deadline, which will usually be around October 30th, we will continue to accept and review applications on a rolling basis until we have comprised the entire cohort, which is going to be usually around 33 to 35 students. Let's see. So let's see. The next program I want to talk about is TRELS, which is short for the Triton Research and Experiential Learning Scholars Program. This is a program that is run through the various colleges at the university. So when you apply through the college. So if you're in Muir, then you apply through the Muir College, and all these applications, by the way, are online at our website, at the URH website. And so this is a program that you can do quarterly. It exists in I think it's going to be in the winter and spring quarters this year. It was last year. That may vary, and if it's open in the fall quarter, you'll find out about that very soon on our newsletter. But last year it was available in the winter and spring, where you get a $1,000 scholarship, and it's also one of our summer programs. Students here in TRELS are doing a 10-week summer program for which they receive a $5,000 stipend. TRELS is one of the programs that is open to students from all majors. And I don't think I mentioned it, but the McNair program is also open to students from all majors. And TRELS is also open to students with any citizenship status or any class standing. And that doesn't matter for you because you're coming in as juniors, and all of our programs are available to juniors and seniors. Let's see. This says applications open on 10/14. I don't know for sure if that's going to be the opening date for this year, but it's probably close to that. That's the application deadline from last year. Um, so this says fall applications will be out. That's actually a misprint. That's going to be probably, they meant winter quarter applications, I think, for that. So yeah, Trells is something where you can either do a research project with your mentor, or you can also do, I think you can do artistic projects, you can do um, uh, collaborative projects with your mentor. So it's pretty wide open. If you're interested in Trells, I encourage you to look more at the website and find out more about that. Okay, so let's see, the last program, I think this is the last program I'm going to be telling. No, it's not actually, there's another one. But UC Scholars is one of the programs that exists only in the summer. And we do have some UC Scholars this year. I think we have 10 or 11 UC Scholars. So it's a smaller program than McNair, but it's a little bit more wide open. And it's open to juniors and seniors, any citizenship status, any major. UC Scholars is like the McNair Scholars program. In the summer, it's 8 weeks long, and with that one, you get a $3,000 stipend plus assistance with housing. It's like McNair, where you either get the on-campus housing or an allowance for housing. Let's see, what else can I say about UC Scholars? You would have to have a mentor coming in. So when you apply, you would need to have a faculty mentor. I'm going to back up a little bit because I want to go back to McNair for a moment. One of the great things about the McNair program is that you don't have to have a faculty mentor when you enter the program. Most students that come into the program have no research experience, and they also don't know who they're going to be working with as a faculty mentor. And once you're in the program is when I will help you find a faculty mentor to do research with, and you'll start your research in the winter quarter. Some of the other programs are different than that. That is, Trells, when you apply, you have to have a mentor, and that mentor will write a letter recommendation for you. UC Scholars is similar in that when you apply, you should know who you're going to be working with in the summer. All right. This is the last program I want to talk about, and it's URS. It's a 10-week program, and there are many different URS scholarships, which I was going to show you, but we were kind of short on time. But they are all over the place. There are many different ones. I know that one of them is for students who want to do research on HIV and AIDS. There's one that's a biological sciences one. There's one for students who want to work on ecology and the environment. And so there are many different scholarships. They're all summer scholarships, and they pay well. They're $5,000 scholarships, and you do need to have a research proposal with those. So I encourage you to look at the URS scholarships. There are many of them. I think there are around 20 different ones. All right, I'm going to skip through this. I just want to let you know that we do sponsor scholarships, undergraduate conferences throughout the year. Our summer research conference is going to be on August 13th and 14th this year. You're welcome to attend that and see the research presentations that our many students are going to be doing. And we also have something called prestigious scholarships, and I can talk with you more about that in the Q&A if you're curious about that. The last thing I want to show you is this. If you want to sign up for a newsletter, you can just point your camera at that, and you can get the URL for signing up for the newsletter. The URL is also listed there. So thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to address those in the Q&A. I'm going to stop my share here at this point. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown.
You're welcome.
Are you okay to stay 10-ish minutes to answer some questions?
Yeah, I can hang out another 15 minutes or so.
Okay, thanks. So we do have a couple of questions that I wanted to kind of save. We have one question that is asking, Would one be stretching themselves too thin by applying to, say, an honors psychology program and the McNair program that both require research? My 2 cents is that you can apply to both and see which one, you get accepted into. But doing both, I'm wondering, Dr. Brown, if you can talk about like the time commitment for the McNair program.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and actually you can do both. We've had students who've done their honors thesis program while they're in the McNair program. Um, so yeah, I would second what Elizabeth is saying, that you should apply for both if you're interested in both. And if you do get in both, you can work it out, and it depends on the timing of the research for the honors program. So many of the honors programs have research that starts in the fall quarter. Some of them start in the winter quarter. Uh, and if you're in both the honors program and McNair program, what most students who've had that experience do is that they count their honors thesis research as their McNair research while they're in the McNair program, and that's fine. And so what you would do is, instead of getting what we call the 199, you would get, I think it's a 197, which is honors thesis research, and that would count for both the McNair program and for the honors program.
Ooh, yeah, I think that's great that, students are able to do both or balance both. There's another question, which is, do all faculty members slash mentors have to be UCSD faculty staff? And maybe this question is like in relation to some of the programs that you went over that require a faculty mentor.
Yeah, for the most part, they do have to be UCSD staff, but there's a really wide range. So, for example, there are professors, there are researchers who work at the Scripps Research Institute or the Moores Cancer Center who aren't specifically professors at UCSD, but they're doing research and they're affiliated with the university. And those are professors. You can have those as faculty mentors. So it's pretty wide ranging. It would not be, so if you wanted to say work with somebody who's at San Diego State, that might be a little trickier. Usually for our programs, you have to have what we call a mentor of record, and that's somebody who can be the professor who is who gives you the grade, the pass no pass grade on your 199 on your independent studies course. So we'd have to have somebody who is affiliated with one of the departments here at the university.
Great, thank you. Let's see. There is a question that I can answer this one, and Tom, if you have like also some advice. So somebody asked, can transfers join the honor program? So I guess if this person is asking, maybe like as an example, the psychology honors program that is that is actually under the psychology department website. It would not be under the Undergraduate Research Hub. Yes, transfers can join like the psychology honors programs. Other honors programs, there are eligibility requirements, but it would vary on which honors program you're referring to. So different majors have different honors programs and different eligibility. So those are my 2 cents on transfers, but yeah. Let's see. There's another question, um, which is a good question, is somebody asked, are those stipends considered aid slash scholarships? And I think those are in relation to like the stipends that you had mentioned, Tom, like the camp one, the UC Scholars one. Do you have any like contacts or info for
Yeah,
how that works?
and I think those are considered aid or financial aid. So, and actually when we, for the summer program, which is when most of our stipends are paid out to students, these are paid through the financial aid office. So they'll actually coordinate that with your financial aid. But yeah, I think it's considered a scholarship from financial aid's perspective.
Cool. All right. And let's see. Somebody asked which would be the best program to start with research as a transfer. And I would say that there's like a lot of factors that go into it, right? It could be depending on your major, like how much, sometimes transfer students want to take the first quarter to kind of just like get adjusted to things, and like, get acquainted with UCSD and then to start like actively looking for research opportunities. And then other students are kind of like, they just want to get started as soon as possible, which is totally fine. So I would say for that question, it really depends, like, what are your goals, right? Like, do you want to do independent research? Do you want to do research like under the guidance of the faculty in a research lab on a research project? So I would think about ideally like what it is you'd like to do. And then just because like all these programs are different and I feel like serve different purposes. Um, Dr. Brown, what about you? What do you have to say about?
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer, Elizabeth. And there aren't that many things you can start. Well, that's actually not really what I was going to say isn't really true. I was going to say that programs don't start in the fall quarter. So the McNair program, in a way, is something that starts in fall quarter because you're applying, and then if you're admitted, you would start meeting with me and with the other cohort members in November and trying to find a faculty mentor. Um, yeah, I think, it does matter. It does depend on what your major is and what your career goals are to a certain extent. If you're thinking about going into research as a career, and especially if you're already thinking about the idea of going into a PhD program after you graduate from UCSD, I really strongly encourage you to go into the McNair program or to apply the McNair program, because that's specifically what the McNair program is for, is for students who want to get PhDs and who want to have careers in research. But all the programs give you that research experience and will give you that head start, and will help you get into graduate programs, and will also be good for your post-grad experience, no matter what that is.
All right. And then there's another question. If you're coming in with zero research experience, would it be advised for us to start looking for things we're interested in studying / reaching out right now during the summer? Um, And I first wanted to address the zero research experience. I think oftentimes I meet with transfer students specifically, and when we meet and talk, they're very worried that like they're like, oh, I didn't have like I don't have any research experience. I didn't do research experience at my previous college, like and they're kind of worried about like finding things now. And what I have to say to that is that it's okay. It's okay that you don't have research experience already. Because you're here at UCSD and your undergraduate experience here is for you to like try things and get acquainted with research too. So that's okay. I would say if you have a clear idea of what you would like to do, some students are like, for example, they're like, I'm going to med school and I want to get into research in relation to, like clinical psychology, whatever it may be, and they have a clear idea of what they want to do. That's awesome. But if you're also somebody who's kind of like, I'm not sure where to start, I'm looking at options, or you want to talk it out, I would also, take the time to think about the type of research topics that interest you, what doesn't interest you, think about what are your motivations behind wanting to pursue research. And kind of like what Dr. Brown said earlier too, think about your career goals. I would take some time and you can talk to professional staff member, either myself or Dr. Brown or somebody from the Undergraduate Research Hub to talk those out. So those are kind of my 2 cents. I think now is a good time to explore what your options are, before fall quarter starts. So you're here in this webinar, so that's like step 1. Yeah, I don't know if there's Anything else you wanted to add, Dr. Brown?
Yeah, I think it's great to start thinking about it this summer. You'd have that opportunity and um, to familiarize yourself with not only say the programs at UC Sandy or in the URH, but yeah, it's a good time to start thinking, especially if you want to start research as soon as possible, to start thinking about, yeah, what kind of research you'd want to do and what topic you might want to research and also faculty members that you might want to work with. But I would say, I want to really 100% agree with what Elizabeth said, which is that it's okay if you don't have research experience already, and there's no reason to rush into it. And I would say that especially you're in your first quarter, just being able to focus on your coursework and finding your footing at the university is a good thing to prioritize. But also, if you are thinking about research and if you want to get started as soon as possible, especially if you do happen to have some research experience and you have a pretty good idea of what you want to study, yeah, then start thinking about, start looking into faculty members in the department, in your major department. And it certainly isn't too early to start thinking about that. And especially if you're thinking about doing biological research or anything in the biosciences, then it's not a bad idea to start thinking about specific professors you might want to work with, especially once the quarter begins. You're going to be busier with courses and everything. So, and if you are thinking about applying to the McNair program, or even if you're thinking about applying to, say, the faculty mentor program, which doesn't start until winter quarter, but you'll need to think about what faculty members to work with, or if you're thinking about applying to TRELS, for example, in winter quarter or for starting winter quarter, then yeah, it's not too early to start thinking about who you might want to work with. And again, I want to say that on the URH webpage, there's a lot of good advice for finding a faculty mentor, and also come and talk to me or talk with somebody else in URH about how to get started with research when you get here.
All right. All right. And then I think this will probably be our last question. But are there any programs related to tech? Maybe in reference to the undergraduate researcher programs and then maybe other stuff. What would you say is like the closest program related to tech in your age?
I think you can do, I guess you're talking about technological research.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if this is coming from an engineering major. That you can do that kind of research. You can do research of that sort in most of any of our programs. And so, yeah, I don't think that there is any limit to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it depends what kind of tech too, or like a little bit of context, like what's your major, like what you wanted to do with like what field of tech too. So I think that matters too. So maybe talking to your major department advisor would be something that would be helpful. But yeah, in the fall we can also talk one-on-one to see what tech options are and explore that more. All right. We are finished with our questions. So with that, thank you all for joining. And thank you, Dr. Brown, for joining too. And
Quite well.
we'll leave it at that. Yeah. All right, everybody.